In this video, we are going to explore different ways of representing DateTime objects into the UI, and in particular, we are going to look into the zone DateTime. These types are very common where we are talking with just about any backend, and in that sense, it would be nice if we are having a centralized way for displaying those in the UI. So let's explore the different ways that we have on our disposal when it comes to Compose UI. So here I have a project that we can utilize for this task, and inside this UI package, I have another sub package called Composables, where I'm keeping composables that are shared across the entire UI. So our first approach would be to create a reusable composable that will take in the type, and then we can reuse that across our entire UI. But let's see what are going to be the pitfalls with this approach and whether we can do better. So first of all, here I'm going to create a new Kotlin file, and I'm going to call this DateTime. Inside, I'm going to create a composable that I'm going to also call DateTime. And as always, we are going to take in a modifier that we are going to default to modifier, and then we are going to take in the type that we want to represent. In this case, I'll call DateTime, which is going to be zoned DateTime. Now, this is just going to be a wrapper. Let's start simple. So inside here, I'm only going to call text composable. I'll pass down the modifier that comes in. And to begin with, as text, I'm only going to pass down the DateTime to string. So let's see what we're going to end up with. And as always, I'm going to create a preview composable here so that we can see how this DateTime looks like. I'm going to make it private here. I'll wrap this into my app theme. Let's see what we end up with. So since this is not very visible, let me also apply color here. So now the preview is much better because the colors are different, but this is far from what we want to see. We want to actually format this in a better way. And the way to do so is by using DateTime formatter. So here I can call DateTime formatter of pattern, and then here I can supply specific pattern. Let's say day, month, year, and then I'll call format and I'll pass down the date time that comes in. Now I'm going to assign all this to variable that I'm gonna call formatted, and then I'll pass that one down to my text composable. This is much better, and this is exactly where I wanted to go. But now we have another problem. So here, this is not very scalable because we are hard coding this pattern. So if you want to format this date time in a different way, I'll have to find a way to extract this somehow. And the initial idea that I have is maybe extract it as a parameter to this function. But now the problem is that the caller of the function will have to supply that pattern, and in that sense they can really just type anything and then end up with a problematic situation. So I have to put some sort of restriction, and to do so I can leverage two approaches. The first one would be creating overloads of this DateTime function so that I'm gonna have different ways to format based on the name of the function, and then I'm gonna end up with multiple functions, and that might not be the way I wanna go. And the other one is, as we have learned into building reusable composables video, I can create some form of configuration that I can pass down here. So I can create an object that I'm gonna call DateTime defaults. And inside here, I'm going to create, let's start off with a simple enum class, and I'm gonna call this format. Now this format will take in value, that's gonna be string, and then here I can list as many formats as I want. For example, I can start off with, let's say, day, month, year, which is going to be this particular format. Now, of course, maybe the name should be more descriptive to explain that I'm using comma, I'm using 3 M's here, and so on and so forth, but you've got the idea. Now, that would be one. Another one would be, let's say, day, month, year, and I can list here as many as I want. And then here in the composable, I can take in format, which is going to be DateTime defaults.format, and I'm going to default this to, let's say, day, month, year. And finally, here inside the formatted, I am going to use the format value, and that will keep working. And then from the usage side, if I want to change the format for particular composable, for particular instance, I can say format is DateTime format, and then use this other one. And then as you can see, it changed. So that's going to be our first approach. The second approach would be to provide this functionality of formatting DateTime by utilizing static composition local. So let's see how we can do that. Here I have a theme, and then I have defined app design system. So I'm going to put this functionality inside this file because it's already there. So I am going to create an interface that I'll call app DateTime format. And now that I have this interface, I can create as many functions inside as I want to. And I'm going to start with the one that will be, let's say, format. It will take in the date time, which is going to be zoned DateTime, and it will return string. Now this is just one function that will do the formatting, but probably I need to apply better name, like format and then give which format it is going to be. And then if I want to support another formats, I'll create as many functions as I need to, basically. Now that's going to be the definition, and I'll create here a value that I will call local upDateTime format, which is going to be static composition local of, and then I'm gonna also use here the upDateTime format interface. Here I'll just create an object that will derive from the upDateTime format, and as a default implementation of the function, I'll just return the DateTime to string. So no formatting here. This is just the definition, the default one. Now in my theme, which is basically an implementation of the design system, I'll create another value that I'll call DateTime format, and this is going to be an implementation of that interface as well. So just an object that will derive from the upDateTime format, and here I'll return DateTime formatter of pattern. Let's use the same, and then just format the date time that comes in. Now what I can do is I can provide it throughout the theme, and here I can say local date update time format provides the date time format, and that's it. So now what I can do is on my usage side, if I go back here, because I have wrapped everything in my app theme, I can first extract this into variable, and then instead of date time, I'll use text, and here I want to use formatted as a text, but formatted is going to be a local variable that I'll do local update time format current format the date time, and then supplied. Also, if I apply the color as I did for my date time composable, we will see the result is going to be the same. Now to bring this step further, what we could have done as well here in the app theme is I can expose an object that I can call update time, and then here I'll create a value formatter which is going to be of type update time format, and then here I'll get as composable my local date time format current. So now that I have this object, back to my usage side, instead of doing local update time format current, I can say update time formatter dot format, and maybe this API looks better or it reads better. Now that's additional thing that we can do, and yeah, that should wrap it up. Now it's up to us to decide which approach to take, and if you compare both approaches, when you need to add additional support, you will either have to add additional functions here in this interface, or in the way of using this defaults, we'll have to add additional formats here. So it's up to you to choose which approach to take. Those are the two that came to my mind for this task, and I would be curious which one is your favorite, or if you are maybe having a better one. Let me know in the comments below.